I just finished up a video project that took me to 4 different cities across the United States, and Boston was the first stop.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hey everybody, my name is AJ, and if we haven't met, I am a video director out of Atlanta, Georgia, and this video series is where I talk about the stories behind the stickers I've collected on my camera case, and today I'm talking about my recent trip to Boston. Boston was stop number 1 out of 4 cities that I needed to go to capture footage for a single project. And I've been to Boston a few times before. I love that city. So we flew into Boston. It was a very early morning flight out of Atlanta because we were filming the same day that we were shooting. And so it was an early morning flight. We landed in Boston, grabbed our car, and drove under the harbor, which was my first time doing that. And that was kind of an experience going in the tunnels under the harbor. We headed to grab our rental gear, which in fact I shipped to myself. I didn't want to carry a bunch of things on the plane and pay the oversized baggage fee and everything on lighting equipment. So I shipped it to myself. It arrived in Boston the day before we got there. So I went to a FedEx location. Nate, who was with me, dropped me off on the curb. I ran in, grabbed it, came out with a bunch of boxes. I'm in Boston and I'm downtown right now. We just stopped at a FedEx where I had all the gear shipped. So I got all the boxes here, sitting on the curb, just waiting on Nate. He's bringing the car around. Threw those in the car and then we took off for the location, which was actually in a high rise in the financial district, right on the harbor. Amazing views in that building. This view, check this out.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. I'm actually on location. So as you can see, there's the mic. Come on, Nate. What the heck, man? There's Nate's. All right, so you can see I'm on set. I'm actually being the sound check person right now. So Nate's checking sound. We were actually done in about 3 hours. And so we packed up all the boxes that we had shipped to ourselves, packed them all up and actually went back to the same FedEx. And I walked in just a few hours after I'd picked everything up and returned the same boxes to be shipped back. The guy looked at me kind of weird, but hey, I didn't have to carry stuff on the plane, so that worked for me. We didn't have a lot of time after the shoot, so we wrapped about 5 p.m. We were flying out first thing the next morning, so we had a couple hours around dinner time just to kind of sneak in a few things. So we walked a little bit of the Freedom Trail. We went down to what they call the North End or Little Italy and walked around there. And the client had told us that if we're gonna eat, we should eat at Mama Maria's. The guy at the door laughed at us because we didn't have a reservation, but there was this little table just kind of tucked in kind of a corner. It wasn't even in like the patio. It was like on the sidewalk. And he said, all I have is that. We didn't care. We just wanted to eat at this place. It was highly recommended. So we snagged up that table. We had Mama Maria's, which was probably the best Italian I think I've ever had. We walked around the corner and went to Mike's Pastry. If you've ever been to Boston, I'm sure you know that Mike's Pastry is the place you have to go. We waited in a long line for these cannolis. I don't even like cannolis, but I loved that cannoli. I think the only other time I've had something that good with that long of a wait was when we were in California and we went to Old West Cinnamon Rolls was like that. And this had that same kind of experience. Mike's Pastry, if you're ever in Boston, definitely do that. We walked around a little bit more, saw everything we could see before we lost the light and it was too dark, but in that process I was scouting where I could get pictures in the morning. So first thing in the morning, I headed out on my own and went back to the same spots that I had kind of scouted out the night before and got sunrise photos. It is 5:30 a.m. I've been up for about a half hour to explore the city of Boston at sunrise. So I got this gorgeous sunrise over the harbor and walking around with my camera, of course, and just grabbing some pictures. After those photos, I met up with Nate. He and I grabbed breakfast, checked out of the hotel, and then headed to the airport to grab a flight to the next city of the 4 that we needed to go to for this tour of cities on one project. And so we actually went from Boston straight to the next city, which I'll talk about in another video. As for what I learned on this project, I learned that shipping the gear to myself was definitely the way to go because then I didn't have to carry it. I didn't have to deal with oversized bags and breaking my own back. The gear literally just arrived the day before. I went, picked it up and shipped it right back out. Never had to load it into a hotel or anything. It literally was the easiest thing of all time. And I also learned that Mike's Pastry is delicious.